Hello dear students, welcome to the lecture 2 of organic chemistry. In the previous lecture, we have discussed about the importance of the organic chemistry in our daily life and what is organic chemistry. So we have discussed about it in the previous lecture. Now we will discuss about that when we talk about the carbon particularly, carbon form so many compounds in the nature. What is the reason? What is the reason behind that? That carbon is forming so many compounds in nature. Everywhere carbon is there. We see every compound. For example, we talk about ourselves, we talk about any mobile, anything which we are eating, anything we are taking as a medicine, so there will be the role of the carbon. But why carbon is there? Why carbon is forming so many compounds? So that is because of the two properties of the carbon. When we talk about the carbon, it has two properties. One property is the catenation effect, and the second property is the tetravalence of the carbon. Means valency of the carbon is 4. So that is the second property. Valency of carbon is 4. So because of these two properties, carbon forms so many compounds. What is catenation effect? Catenation effect is a effect in which any element has self-linking ability. Means carbon have the tendency to attach with the other carbon, and it will form four compounds. For example, if we try to represent it, carbon is forming the bond with the second carbon, and this carbon will form the other bonding with the other carbon. So it is known as the catenation effect, and because of that they form long chains. And we also know that carbon will form four compounds, because four bonds, because it is having the valency 4. So there will be four bonds. So because of that there will be very long chains which are formed by the carbon. Long chains are formed by the carbon. So because of these two properties in the nature, role of carbon is very high, and carbon forms so many compounds. So we have discussed about these things in the previous classes, and the previous in the like 9 10th you have discussed about. Now in the chemistry, in the organic chemistry particularly, when we talk about the long chains, when we talk about the carbon particularly, when we deal with the carbon, it is studied that carbon can be of like it can be primary carbon, it can be secondary carbon, it can be tertiary carbon, and it can be quaternary carbon as well. Okay, so it can be 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree, 4 degree. And the other thing that is about the carbon, study of the carbon, that is the hybridization of the carbon. So let's talk about these important concepts. So we have understood that carbon forms so many compounds. But when we talk about the representation of the organic compound, how an organic compound can be represented, so it will be represented in terms of the structure, in terms of the formula. So that can be represented into different types. For example, it can be represented in terms of the molecular formula. Okay, it can be represented in terms of the structure. For example, it can be represented as a Lewis structure. Okay, Lewis structure. It can be represented in the terms of the condensed formula. I will talk about that. What is the condensed formula? What is the molecular formula? What is the Lewis structure? You know about the molecular formula. You also know about the Lewis structure. But you don't know about the condensed structure. There is no complete structure as well. Complete structure. And there is a partial condensed structure as well. Partial, partially condensed structure. Okay, when we talk about the bond line structure, so there will be different types of the representation of the organic compound. Bond line structure is also there. So we will be talking about these type of the formula and the structures one by one. Before that, do you know that what is organic compound? I have tell you in the previous class, the organic compound is a type of the compound which is formed by the hydrocarbons, or the derivatives of the hydrocarbons. Mean that the hydrocarbons and the derivatives of the hydrocarbons are known as the organic compound. Okay, so let's talk about the molecular formula and the other type of the structures one by one. So when we talk about the molecular formula, what is the molecular formula? Molecular formula is a type of the formula in which The complete composition of the structure is represented when we talk about the formula of the water. So this is the molecular formula of the water. When we talk about the molecular formula of the glucose, in the molecular formula, you can represent the number of carbons, number of number of hydrogen, number of oxygen, means the atoms which are present in that particular compound can be represented, and that will not be the whole number ratio. That will be the complete composition of the atoms which is present in the molecular formula. When we talk about the, for example, CH4, this is the formula of the methane. Okay, so this is the molecular formula. This is the formula of the glucose. So molecular formula we already know, we have discussed in the mole concept, so it is the well-known concept. Now move forward to the Lewis concept or the Lewis structure. When we are making the Lewis structure, which is also known as the electron dot structure. So how we actually make the electron dot structure for the CH4? Because we are dealing with the organic chemistry, so we have to deal with the examples which are organic. So methane is an organic compound. When we talk about the organic compound like methane, carbon is forming the bond with the 4 hydrogen here. When we talk about the how many electrons are present in the outermost cell of the carbon, so you will say there will be 4 electrons. Okay, because when we talk about the electronic configuration of the carbon, that is 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. So as you can see here, there are 4 electrons which is present in the outermost cell of the carbon. So it can be represented like this by the cross. I am representing the electrons of the carbon